Today we're going to be talking about how to construct a great plot twist. We're going to talk about what a plot twist actually is. We'll discuss the 3 ways that you can set up a plot twist, and we'll talk about how to make sure that when you reveal your twist, it lands in a way that can't fail to satisfy the reader. Hey everybody, I'm Jane, and if you haven't heard me say it before, a plot twist is nothing more than something the reader believes that turns out to be false. One of my favorite plot twists of all time comes from the Orson Scott Card novel Ender's Game, in which our hero, Ender, is enrolled at battle school being trained in simulated battle. Ender is determined to become the best military commander of all time so that he can defeat the alien race known as the Buggers and end the threat that they pose to humanity. His training escalates until he is in command of a team of crack strategists preparing for the war in the greatest, most elaborate battle simulation of all time. The twist?
Why are these images in the program?
Ender, you won.
It wasn't a simulation. Ender and his crew were in command of actual ships crewed by actual soldiers fighting and dying in a war many light years from Earth. When they blew up the Buggers planet in their simulation, well, that was a real alien world that was destroyed. So we had a belief, Ender is engaged in battle simulations, and now we know that it is false. Ender is engaged in actual battle. That's the plot twist. That's the moment where we experience shock, where our world cracks open and reassembles itself in a totally new configuration. So how did Card give us this false belief in the first place? Well, there are 3 ways to plant a false belief in the mind of your audience, and here's the one Card used. He had a character lie to us. Colonel Graff and the rest of the battle school staff lied to Ender about the nature of his battles. Ender believed him, and so did we. The only thing that you need to write a plot twist like this is a character who is motivated to conceal some important information. Colonel Graff is motivated to keep Ender in the dark because he knows that anyone who knew the real circumstances of the battle would be bowed down by the incredible moral weight of taking all of those lives. A commander who knew that he was about to destroy an entire species of alien beings wouldn't be able to keep from flinching. He'd hesitate, he'd falter, and the war would be lost. For another example of a plot twist set up by a lying character, we can look at The Empire Strikes Back, in which Luke learns that Darth Vader is his father. In this case, the lying character is Obi-Wan Kenobi, who told Luke that Vader actually killed his father. Again, Obi-Wan is motivated to conceal the truth. He's motivated to lie because he believes that if Luke understands his father's dark path, he may wind up following it. Another way to introduce a false belief to your audience is to have them draw conclusions based on the facts that you've presented to them. In Planet of the Apes, we see a ship crash on a planet and 3 NASA astronauts emerge from hypersleep. They meet an intelligent civilization of apes, and one of them eventually escapes to the seaside where he realizes, plot twist, this planet is actually Earth. Because these NASA scientists obviously left Earth, and because the civilization they encounter is obviously distinct from our own known civilization, we naturally assume that this world is another planet. We've been deliberately fed a number of facts that forced us to come to a false conclusion. Another example of this method of setting up a plot twist comes from the movie The Village, in which we've been shown all sorts of details, clothing, building styles, manners of speech, that make us conclude that this movie takes place in the past, when in fact it takes place in the present day. And our last way to set up a plot twist is to take advantage of an assumption that the reader brought with them. Okay, the best example I can think of here is The Sixth Sense, in which we assume that our protagonist, Malcolm Crowe, is alive, when in fact he's actually a ghost. So this is an assumption that we, the audience, brought with us, because we always assume that all of our characters are alive. We're completely gobsmacked when it turns out that Malcolm isn't. This film also takes care to present deceptive facts to us, taking advantage of that second way of setting up a plot twist. It shows us scenes in which Malcolm seems to be interacting with other characters, even though no one ever actually reacts to him, except for Cole, the little boy who can talk to ghosts. Another movie that takes advantage of assumptions we brought with us is Frozen, in which we assume that the handsome prince is naturally a good guy.
You're not worth it! Guess what? I'm the bad guy!
What?
If you're enjoying this video and you feel like it's going to help you create some good plot twists, please take just a second to hit the like button. And if you did, thank you so much. I am eager to reach more writers and help them understand clear, practical ways of building plots, and the likes, well, honestly, they help. Okay, so we talked about how these plot twists surprise us with false beliefs, but is that everything they need to work? Is that everything they need to really satisfy the reader? Not exactly. No, there are 2 more things that we need. And the first is that the surprise needs to be supported. In Ender's Game, there are several things that support the surprise, that make you think an instant after you experience that feeling of shock, aha, it all makes sense. First, there's the brutality of Ender's training regimen, which seems too harsh for children, but it makes more sense for actual soldiers. There's also the behavior of Colonel Graff and Major Anderson, who clearly seem to have something they're hiding. And there's the general attitude of desperation in all of the battle school commanders, their attitude of fear and dread, which makes it more plausible that they'd be willing to try wildly unorthodox tactics, such as using gifted children as their commanders or keeping their battle commander in the dark. Without these supports holding it up, the plot twist would crumble. Readers would be surprised when they learned that the battle simulations were actually real, but they would wind up saying, well, that came out of nowhere, and they leave the story with a very unsatisfied feeling. Another contemptuous thing people will often say about endings is, I saw that one coming. So putting these two statements together, okay, we can see that our audiences want our endings to come from somewhere, but we don't want to see them coming. Essentially, we want the ending to come at us out of our peripheral vision, providing us brief glimpses of the final picture, and that's what all the supporting details are for, providing those brief glimpses. And the best plot twists, the ones that really grab us by the heart and don't let go, those are the ones that are not only surprising, not only supported, but also resonant. In Ender's Game, when Ender learns that he has in fact obliterated an alien race, he's devastated. And throughout the book, we've not only had the supports that suggest the surprise, we've also had another set of supports that help us understand Ender's perspective on defeating others. We see how he reacts when he's forced to kill in self-defense.
Bonzo! Help!
And we get to hear from him on what it feels like to defeat someone. When he comes to fully understand his enemy, he empathizes with them greatly. In fact, he loves them.
I think it's impossible to truly understand someone and not love them the way they love themselves. But in that moment,
You beat them.
I destroy them.
Having these two sets of supports laid throughout the book, one for the surprise and one for Ender's state of mind, means that at the end, when it all comes together, we have a remarkable moment of synthesis. We understand not only how the world really is, but what it means to Ender, and it's a moment of incredible power. And once we ask what the ending of the story means to Ender, we have to ask what it means to us, the audience. Is it telling us something true? In this case, that those we perceive as our enemies are also, on some level, like us. That when we hurt someone, even an enemy, we can't help but feel scarred by that action and in need of redemption. If the story tells us something true, then that's the best kind of resonance, the kind that grafts a story to your heart and makes sure that it will never leave you. If you're fired up to create some great plot twists, I can't do better than to recommend this video, in which we dug into how to mine your story premise for false beliefs to introduce to your audience in the first place.